All right, every parent out there knows this moment, that first diaper change. It's a rite of passage, right? And it comes with some pretty strong feelings. Well, today we're going to dive into the surprising science of why that initial yuck feeling completely transforms into, well, just another act of love.
Okay, let's be real for a minute. I want you to think back, way back, to that very first time. Before you were a seasoned pro, what was really going through your head? What was that gut reaction?
Yeah, if your reaction was anything like this little green face, trust me, you are not alone. Feeling that wave of disgust or just general weirdness is incredibly common. It's a totally normal reaction, both in your body and your mind. So that brings us to our first big idea here. We're calling it the initial shock for a reason, because that feeling, it's not some kind of personal failure. It's actually a deep-seated response that tons of new parents share. You see, it's pretty much a hardwired response. Your brain is basically programmed to react to intense, unfamiliar smells and sights with a big, whoa, hold on signal. It's a protective instinct, really. But here's the key. That feeling, it doesn't last forever. So how on earth does that powerful, instinctive feeling just kind of disappear? Well, this is where the real magic of your brain's adaptability comes into play. It's a pretty fascinating process, actually. Okay, so the fancy scientific term for this is the adaptation effect. And I know, it sounds a little complex, but the idea is actually super simple. When your brain gets exposed to the same thing over and over, like, say, a particular smell, its reaction just gets weaker and weaker over time. It basically learns, okay, this is part of the new normal, it's not a threat, and it just chills out. And you can actually see how this plays out in the real world, right? On day one, that disgust reaction is strong. But give it a couple of weeks and you're already noticeably less bothered. Fast forward to day 45 and it's just another part of the routine. Your brain has totally adapted. But wait, that's not the whole story. Adaptation is a huge piece of the puzzle, for sure. But there's another, way more powerful force at work here. Something that goes way beyond just brain chemistry. We're talking about the filter of love. And this quote, this just nails it, doesn't it? I mean, this is something you hear from parents everywhere. The whole context of who you're caring for completely changes the game. It's not just any mess, it's your kid's mess. That bond, that love, it really does act like a filter. It doesn't magically make the mess disappear, but it totally reframes it. The emotional importance of taking care of your baby just becomes so much bigger than any temporary unpleasantness. Your brain literally starts to prioritize connection over disgust. And then, of course, there's just the simple power of habit. I mean, when you're a new parent, things that seemed extraordinary a week ago suddenly become your new normal, right? Think about it. Changing diapers isn't happening in some isolated bubble. It's just one piece of the puzzle. You're constantly dealing with spit up, you're wiping drool, you're cleaning up all kinds of messes. It all just kind of blends together and becomes part of the job description. And, let's be practical for a second. A lot of the time, what we imagine is way worse than the actual reality. Especially in those early newborn days, when it's just milk, a lot of parents find it's way more manageable than what they'd been dreading. Okay, so let's tie this all together. What's the big takeaway here? Because this isn't really just about diapers. It's about a huge, fundamental shift in your perspective that really defines what it means to become a parent. So let's recap the whole journey. You start out with that totally normal discomfort. Then, pretty quickly, habit and your brain's amazing ability to adapt kick in. But the real transformation, that happens when that profound sense of love and responsibility just takes over, turning what felt like a gross chore into a simple, loving act of care. And that kind of leaves us with one final thought, This whole journey from disgust to duty, it's really a mini version of the entire parenting experience. And it makes you wonder, where else in our lives does love have the power to completely transform how we see the difficult, messy, and challenging things we have to do?